Good morning, everybody. Hopefully that's gone live and everyone can see me. I might just have a quick little look just to make sure that everything is okay. How's everyone doing? How is everyone? Let's just have a look. Have I gone through okay? Yes, I'm there. Amazing. Okay, so wonderful. If you're able to catch this on live or whether you're on replay, thank you so much for coming today. So today I wanted to bring you someone really, really special and super, super gorgeous, Vicki Tongeman, who has written this amazing book, which when I heard her talk about it, I just really wanted to introduce you guys to her because it's something that you can do with your kids. It's something that's incredibly relevant right now. And I think considering the unbelievable circumstances that we're all in, I just think any resources that we can get our hands on and that are going to help, that are going to be loving and nurturing and supportive is what we really need, really. So that's what's brilliant about this group is that I can access these amazing women and bring them on. So I'm going to be doing a lot more of that, which is just fantastic. So I'm going to introduce you to the very, very wonderful Vicki Tongeman. Hello, my lovely.
Hi, everyone. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was brilliant. I loved having our talk the other day. Bodhi's just popped on. Hi, Bodhi God. Wow, she's coming all the way from Guam as well. So I don't even know what time it is over there right now, but that's amazing. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, well, I'm so pleased that you're here. So I think the best person to really explain what it is that you've got, the thing that you do, is going to come from you. So yeah, if you would like to just kind of explain the products that you've got and the amazing book that you have.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just briefly flash up the book, Daphne and the Smiley Shells here. Yeah, nice artwork and that there. And Daphne was sort of born from an experience that I had while I was working with mums and groups, people with low self-esteem and low income and other troubles. I just realized that these sort of slightly older people were actually struggling with what seemed to be like the same pattern in their life that they'd had as children. So, for instance, someone had actually had a breakdown because of how they had a bullying boss. Another one had a breakdown or tried to end their life, due to an experience at school. But they were in their 40s and 50s. And it occurred to me that if only I could get some of the information that I knew about things like law of attraction, about how we talk to ourselves, and about how the experience that children have as a child can continue continues their experiences throughout their life, then maybe we could help the child to build their own inner confidence whilst they were still in that time of being programmable, because we know that children up to the age of 7, 8 basically absorb every belief, everything that they see and hear like a sponge, and they don't question it. So rather than them having that focus in their life forever about this grumpy teacher or awful sibling or whatever that they had in their life at that time, I wanted them to be able to be taught to think of themselves, accept themselves, and think of themselves as a positive force. So celebrating the fact that they, regardless of what shape their body is, celebrating that, their hands can hold things, their eyes can see things, their legs carry them places. They don't have to look like Beyonce or, that pop star on the TV. They can be themselves and celebrate themselves, celebrating what they're doing. Have they been kind to a friend at school today? Have they tried hard, even though maybe they haven't got the grade they wanted? Have they tried hard to do something? Have they practiced something? Nobody's good at everything. So I want children to be able to learn to celebrate their efforts, who they are, and their own unique gifts and skills, because we've all got something unique to offer the world. And if they can focus on that rather than comparing themselves to other people within school, within work, and so on, then they can take that self-confidence out into the world. And we know that self-confidence has a major effect on what kind of life people lead.
Absolutely.
Now, I know that there are many parents and adults that really want to support their children, but maybe don't quite know how to do it. And so this very simple, short picture book, which is aimed at sort of 4 to 8 year olds, but also is, the techniques are their neuro-linguistic programming, self-love techniques, growth mindset, etc. They'd be useful for any age group, including parents and adults.
But that's what's wonderful about your book, isn't it? Because actually we can read that as the parent,
yeah,
knowing that this is infiltrating, the words are making a difference into the neurological development of our children, but also for ourselves, we can use it as a self-reflection tool as well.
That's right, because we all need a bit of positive self-talk, and
always.
Sort of, I was looking in a group earlier today, and there were mums saying, it's not fair. I do all this work on my business, but my partner doesn't seem to notice, and he doesn't appreciate what I do, and he thinks I've got to do all the housework and everything as well. And they're kind of suffering from that. And I thought, well, if mums could sort of say, do you know what? I worked pretty hard today. I did this. I did the washing up. I helped the kids. I worked towards my business. Then they wouldn't need their partner to pat them on the back necessarily. But the thing is, because we would then be changing the energy of that person and of ourselves, chances are we might be treated differently by the people around us, because we're putting, we're not putting ourselves down. We're kind of bigging ourselves up. So people around us appreciate us more as well.
And it's almost like having those little boundaries, isn't it, of self-love boundaries, so that when we can acknowledge and become aware of the amazing things that we do just by existing every single day, when we have that kind of sense of inner confidence with that, then it's almost like you have a protection barrier, that kind of invisible protection barrier that can come up. I remember that feeling. Bodhi's saying, I remember that feeling. It can feel so lonely, can't it? And it can feel so frustrating, because you're doing so much that often, if your partner isn't there with you, seeing what's going on, it's difficult for that person to understand what's happening. But if we internally can notify that and actually give ourselves some credit for that, and confidently be able to say, well, actually I did this and this, I haven't even sat down for a cup of tea yet, it's like then we've already got I'm almost sitting up a bit more straight when I say it, almost like we've got that internal power that we can bring within ourselves in a nice way. It doesn't have to be used as a power way. It's just a internal energy that we can bring to the table. I think it's really, really important.
Absolutely. And the reason that I decided to go for a jar of shells, so the idea is that Grandad tells Daphne that what he does is he gets some smiley shells and he puts some shells in a jar, is because we can see the shells begin to build up. So these, I've used pasta shells here. This is like mirror image with the camera, so you go one way and you're actually
oh yeah, no, it's weird, isn't it?
If you can imagine these building up as you put, I'm so happy that I emptied the laundry basket. I'm so happy that I cooked the dinner. I'm so happy that I emailed that potential client today. Notice how that's going to build up into more and more self-affirmation. It doesn't take the time of writing things down. And if you've got a child that doesn't like writing or who's too young to write, then they can do this too in their own jar. And children model parents or the adults around them. So in some ways, it's almost easier to start with yourself and kind of decorate your own jar. Do that for you, and maybe a child will come along and say, "What are you doing, mummy?" And you can then teach them.
I love it, because as an occupational therapist, for me, this is going back to the idea of play, and actually us as adults, as well as loads of stuff coming up for me, but as adults we tend to not go for play activities because we're kind of programmed into being doing an activity for a purpose, for a reason, and we do things much more in a much more adult, serious manner. But as a child, obviously everything's based around play, and our main occupation as children is, of course, play. And we tend to kind of lose the importance of play, the necessity of encouraging play as an adult. So by the adult actually doing that activity, it's for them personally, it's going to enable the parent, the mum in this case, to go back to that sense of play, to be having fun. And of course, when we're relaxed and we're having fun, that's when the information is going in. I think this is genius. This is an absolutely brilliant thing that you've done. This is so good. I love it. I think people are going to absolutely love it. I've got some more comments. Absolutely super. Lone, yes. And then when he saw the success, he just got jealous rather than irritated. That's so sad that happened. Bodhi's a phenomenal woman who I've done some work with, and will be doing more work with in the future on various talks and things like that. So she's been through an incredible amount, and actually we'll have Bodhi come in and do some more talks in the Connected Mother at some point. She's really is quite a woman. But yes, that's another thing, isn't it? Is that you can have these feelings from other people, but of course that's their stuff. How other people react is their own internalization of what's going on, and we can't control that, but we can only control how we want to respond and how we want to react to that, which is really, really difficult if you're in a situation that Bodhi looks like was in, where it's you're almost being damaged in that way and sort of being put down. It's very difficult to rise from that. But by using small, really cute, she says, by using really small techniques like this one that you've got, it's very tangible, it's very achievable, it's very manageable. It's I'm going to hand it back over to you, because I could just sing your praises all day. It's fantastic. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Thank you. So just to go into one or two of the little technical bits of the instructions in the book, and what Daphne's granddad advises Daphne. Bear in mind, she's an anxious child who thinks that everything might be out to get her when she's going to and from school. She's trying to learn to surf, but she falls off the surfboard a lot. And her classmates laugh at her, and she just feels like she doesn't get on very well at school. So it's like a metaphor for how we are in life. Whatever age we are in life, we quite often notice all of these and have this anxiety about what's in that dark corner. What could happen next? If I take this step out of my comfort zone, who might be about to pounce on me, or whatever, that sort of thing. And so there are two key phrases in there that I've used to help people to program themselves. As you know, with affirmations, there's when you say I am, you're actually programming your mind into being whatever it is you say I am. So you can say I am scared, I am tired, I am so bored, I am whatever, and that's what your mind and your body is going to listen to. We know through Bruce Lipton's The Biology of Belief that actually our cells listen to everything that's going on in and around us, and they pick up the energy of that as well. So when we start saying stuff like I am getting better at, or I am feeling healthy, or my foot is feeling much better now, whatever it is, we're actually telling and instructing our neural pathways and ourselves what we want to be true. So that is the key. Of course, when you're doing this with children, you're actually programming your child to become more of what they or you want them to be. So that's a really powerful tool just on its own. Also, the work sorry?
Isn't that fascinating though?
Yeah.
That we do, and I love that we have the power to make those changes. It's just incredible.
Yeah. When I learned that, it was a real game changer for me. And then there's so happy that. So the next phrase is, so I am so happy that. And so whatever we say afterwards, kind of, yes, it'll be helpful, but even by saying I am so happy, that is going to help you to feel happier, or your child to feel happier. And I chose that word happy because grateful sometimes has a bit of a religious connotation, and I want to be non-religious, but so it's open to everybody. But actually grateful is another lovely word if you prefer that, or if you want to say I am so happy and grateful. That's in one of the books by Rhonda Byrne. You can say I'm so happy and grateful that something, either that is true already or that you want to be true. And then, what happens is you begin to feel better about life, regardless of what is going on around you. And then life somehow reflects that back and begins to get better as well. Sadly, unfortunately, yes, maybe not everybody will take that on board. And as your, in terms of your listener, sometimes it can occasionally mean that those people who are not on your wavelength might, perhaps not be as close to you as they were in some way. But actually, doesn't that mean that gives you more space for more positive people to come in your life, and more helpful people and more caring people, and or sometimes it is a growth issue. I had it myself. When we change, when our confidence changes, people around us occasionally become a bit uncomfortable for a while. But then their energy can change sometimes as well, from the fact that we've changed, and they begin to fill up with us, and they change again. And sometimes we just have to power through that issue for a while until it gets better. And
that can feel quite scary sometimes, can't it? That can feel, because you sort of have to step out of your comfort zone. And I mean, we've gone through a lot of this being online entrepreneurs. We are constantly being tested emotionally. We are constantly being given guidance of how we can grow, internal guidance of how we can grow and shine and share our messages with the world. And I'm going to say, it's, being an online entrepreneur is a wonderful thing, but it's hard. It's emotionally really, really difficult sometimes, in a good way, because it means that you're growing and you're expanding on various levels. I'm not talking financially, I'm talking emotionally and spiritually, and with connection. And when you kind of move through your development process, people, you do lose people along the way, but actually you gain a phenomenal amount. And that's a hard thing, though, to kind of let go of. And you do have internal battles of how am I going to manage this? Am I upsetting someone? And how do I really feel about that? And I think that's why it's so important to have this self-inner connection of self-worth, self-love, self-appreciation, to be able to share that with other people, because you can either decide to take on the weight of the world and other people's business and be really meddled with it, or you can decide to put up your barrier and shine with love, but not take it on board, but give out love at the same time. And I think, with the book that you've got, you're teaching neurologically the child how to cope with those kind of situations as well, how to look inward, how to develop their inner confidence and growth. And it's massive, and especially when you start getting to playground ages and school ages. And I mean, it's just happened. I don't know, when I was a kid, all those years ago, when I was a kid, everything seemed so fluffy. I don't remember there being any like bitchiness or nastiness. Everyone was just like having a hunky-dory time mostly. But I hear stories from other people's kids all over the UK that their 6-year-old is being bullied, or the 8-year-old thinks they're fat, or all this kind of stuff. And it's like, wow, how does that even exist? I mean, I just wasn't even aware of that when I was younger. I don't know if that's a media thing, or if it's a big world change thing over the last like 30 years, or what it is. But the more resources that we have like this that we can help our young people with, it's amazing. So how do you use the book then? Would you use it just as like a storybook, and like a bedtime storybook, or
I mean, I had actually one dad, and this is quite a good quite a nice idea, really. Sometimes getting the dads involved, I think they like something practical to do with kids. Obviously, do it for yourself and do it with the kids as well, but this is like something that practical that they could do that actually might enhance their children's careers, and make sure that they choose the right kind of partner in their life, if it's a daughter, which dads are generally quite concerned about, and all kinds of things. So I had one dad who was like reading the story most nights, I think, but then he was also getting the jar, and every night he was encouraging his children to think about what they had done well, what they'd strived towards, what was good about their bodies, like, as I mentioned, just even simple things like, I have a nice smile. if everybody smiled, they would all be beautiful all the time. So let's encourage children to smile. There's also some sneaky tricks which you can kind of use both with children and with adults. So there's this thing called positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
And you will quite often find that looking perhaps back in your own childhood, but also with children respond to what you say about them and who you think they are, because that becomes their belief. So if you really want your children, when they come home from school or come indoors, to take their shoes off and put them by the front door, wait until that one time that they actually put their shoes by the front door. Maybe you've asked them a dozen times before and they haven't remembered, but that one time. And then at the end of the day, get your shells, get your jar, and get them to say, I'm so happy that I remember to put my shoes by the front door. And by doing that, it's not you telling them, you're such a good little girl or little boy, you put your shoes by the front door. You are, but you're encouraging them to celebrate what they've done well. And so you're helping them to move towards the kind of behavior that is helpful to you and the family. So this isn't about sort of manipulating. This is about, when it's something that you sense would be helpful to them and the family. And, with feng shui, we know that having a tidy front door area is really useful and helpful to the whole house and so on. So having the shoes put away or something they need to remember to put out every day for school the next day, or you want them to come and sit quietly at the table to have dinner. You can use this as a way of affirming to them when they're behaving in a way that is helpful to them and the family. Use it as a way of affirming to them what they're doing well, because children do what they're noticed for. Same way, if they only get noticed when they're being noisy or rude or getting in front of the telly, they'll do more of that because they just want attention. They want to be noticed. So this is your time to sit with them, potentially, if it works for them, to sit with them, to celebrate what they did, and maybe also, if you think they're old enough to understand, celebrate something that you did. I'm so happy that I cleaned all your shoes this evening or something. So they can learn to appreciate what you do as well, and it will help you to feel confident in what you do and affirm that too. So
I think it's so good because it's it's on different levels of different stages, isn't it? So my boy is just turned 4, in August, and I think that would work really, really well for him for when he comes back from nursery. I could even say what went well at nursery today, so I could actually ask him about his day, and therefore I'm probably going to get more information out of him rather than, I don't know, just when he might remember something that he felt really happy and proud about. And we do use that quite a lot with Stanley. Like, for instance, we've had real bad issues with toileting. He's not wanted to go for a poo in the loo. It's been a challenge, and I've just kind of left it to him to kind of decide on when he's ready. We used a few really gentle techniques, which gave him the confidence to do it. And then when he finally did it the other day, we celebrated that with him. And then we repeated it back. I said, let's go and tell your dad what you did. And then he told his dad what he did. And let's tell Granddad what happened. And he told Granddad what happened. And it was, his face was just like an absolute picture that he'd had that realization that he'd done this thing that he'd been struggling with for such a long time, but he'd achieved it. He'd made it. He'd done it. And we did it again when we went out yesterday, and he said, it's all, I need a nappy on, and I said, oh no, quick, let's run to the toilet. We ran to the toilet, and he did really, really well, and we did the whole process, and we flushed it, and we said goodbye and washed our hands. And because it's been such a big deal for him, it's really given him that. You could see it in his face. He just felt so proud of himself that he'd done that. And then the reaffirming it to his granddad was just like, he's then again speaking the words, isn't he? So he's going, I just did a thing. And then I said, how do you feel? Do you feel happy inside? Do you feel good with yourself? And he's all like, oh yes, I feel really good about that. So we use those kind of things a lot with Stan, but what I think would be really fab with this particular thing is I've already got loads of jars downstairs. I'm going to start doing it with him because I think it's going to work so well for him. And I think it's great. So would I read the story to him like in the day or at night, do you think? Or
I think go with your child. I mean, I had one mum, she was really struggling with getting people out of the door. One particular daughter would just have a tantrum every time they tried to go out the door. And I think she probably had read it to her at night. And then the next time they were going to go out of the door, I'm a coach too, so I'd done some work as well with the mum. But the little girl went and got the book and said, "Sit with me, mummy," and they read the book together before they went outside. So that calmed her down. So nice. It maybe be led by your children. And some children might enjoy going through the book. I've made it more about pictures and words really. There's bits in there around. You can see that she's that Daphne is kind of I do struggle a little bit with getting things.
Oh, wonderful.
So this is like where Daphne is. She's explaining to Grandad how bad she feels because she's scared of big creatures and she can't surf and she's no good at school and stuff like that. And the thing is, she's looking down. So I asked my artist, I did all the sketches myself, but then I needed someone to make it digital. So I asked my artist to make sure that she was looking down, that her shoulders were slumped. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
And that she's if I just take away for a second, she's kind of like this, and we know through physiology and psychology that when you're slumped and looking down, you tend to be more depressed and feeling less happy. So there's things that you can look at in the book, little details, which I am thinking about running a little course just to fill people in on the details, because it occurred to me that people might not know this.
I think that's a good idea.
And that when she's like thinking about what she's happy about, so she's made her jar. In this particular case, she's spoken to Grandad. Grandad's given her a few shells. This is all a bit of a spoiler alert, isn't it? But hey,
it's a couple of little teasers. We're going to want to read the whole thing.
And she's in her bedroom and she's decorated a jar. She's thinking about what she's happy about. So she's happy that she spoke to Grandad. She's happy that she's made her jar, and she's looking upwards. And her back is, as much as a dolphin can. Her back is straight. And then, as you can probably see, her bedroom is untidy. She's got stuff all over it. This is another lovely little clue for us as mums. If you can't think of something to be happy about, why not do something so you can be happy about it? So in this case, she's stuck for what to say next. So she goes and tidies her bedroom. Now, what sort of gift is that to you as parents?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not sure what to be happy about. What about if you put some of those toys away, those in the corner? Then we can put a shell in the jar.
But how simple is that? It's such a great, and as an adult as well, sometimes you find yourself caught up in those days of just complete overwhelm and just feeling exhausted and feeling really rubbish about yourself and going on a downward spiral. And actually, just by doing a task like that, you're going to feel you're going to help you to feel happy. So that's wonderful.
That sort of dopamine kicks in, doesn't it? When it's almost like you're ticking off a box.
Yes, you achieved it.
Achievement.
It's
and then
amazing.
Moving on to like perhaps toilet training is a bit unique. So I'm no expert on that, but in terms of gaining new skills, again, we know with the neural pathways, when we imagine something already to be true, it helps us to build those skills that we want to have. So there's a famous runner, Dame, somebody whose name escapes me for a minute, but she used to imagine, I think she won quite a lot of medals at one point, she used to imagine herself running around the track and winning every morning. And eventually, after quite late in her life, she actually got all these medals in the Olympics and stuff. So we know that when we imagine something being true, when we're seeing and feeling and hearing it as much as possible, it helps us to move towards where we want to be. And again, not everybody is going to be perfect at any particular skill, but you know, if your child really wants to achieve something, maybe you can kind of ask them, well, what's it like when you've done it? You know, what are you noticing? What are you seeing, hearing, feeling? What's around you? What are your friends saying? How do you feel? As you say, how do you feel now that you've achieved this goal? And then they can do that gratitude thing. They can put a shell in the jar and say, I'm so happy that I'm getting better at.
Yeah, I love it.
So happy that I have done such and such. Obviously, you know your child, and we don't want anyone being disappointed. Excuse me, my phone doesn't ring normally.
Good old lives. Joy, I've just given up worrying about anything like that now. Things are going off, and it's fine.
It shows it's live, doesn't it?
Yeah, great. I love it.
So you know, it's a coaching technique. It's a way of coaching your child into what they want to be true. You know, take it easy, make it kind of like I'm getting better at, because we don't want anyone being disappointed because they've not passed an exam or something like that. But just, you know, acknowledging that they are working towards a goal, even if they, you know, even if it doesn't go how they want it to go. The fact that they have tried hard, the fact that they put all that effort into something is what's important. And again, for us as adults, really.
Yeah. And there's a great statement for that, isn't there? It's never, sorry, I can't remember what it is now, but it's basically never change the goal, but don't be worried about how you get there, the process, you know, be open to the process. And it goes out with manifestation as well, as it's like you can still manifest the end result, the end goal, but don't be so worried about how you're actually going to get there. And also the end result might not be what you're expecting, so don't get too hung up on exactly what that specifically is either. It's more about harnessing, getting yourself to that space, and actually when you get to that space you might feel differently, and some other opportunities may well happen as well. But it's really important, because I think as well at school and kids, it can be very competitive of reaching a certain targets and doing things a certain way, that we're not really taught generally in society to not worry about that. We're taught to do things and get a certain grade, do things and write in a certain way, do things and, you know, even just things like, you know, a presentation and things like that. And it can get really kind of overwhelming, even as adults, you know, it can be really overwhelming. So it's about acceptance and letting go. And again, it comes in with that confidence. If you're able to let go of the process, but confident in knowing that what you're doing is the best that you can do that day. And motherhood is a classic one, you know, just knowing as mums that what we did that day was good enough. And that's all we can ever do. In any given moment, you can only ever do what's good enough, because that's all we know how to do. I think that's brilliant. But the end goal is you know, still go for that, basically. I just love this book so much. It's so fantastic. So we're gonna start to wrap it up just now, but is there anything else that you wanted to add before we leave? Anything that you wanted to share? Anything that you wanted to say?
Gosh, there was something in my head and it disappeared. It's about, oh yes, that's it. Okay, so my son is a very thoughtful, my youngest son, he's 28 now, and he's an entrepreneur, and he had a goal in life, which was to be an animator in computer games. He's now running his own business. Oh, hi, Simon.
Hi, Simon.
Yeah, and because he looked into a lot of stuff beforehand, and he said, what's going to happen is people won't in the future be having a career. They're going to need to know what their skills set is, so that they can fit into any type of job. And this is what, you know, I would really love for young people to learn. You know, that it's not about what they achieve, it's about who they are, what are their skills, what are they good at, just, you know, in terms of kindness or emotional intelligence, or it's something that they love doing, whether it's music or writing or drawing or whatever, because they can take those skills, as long as they're confident in them and they develop them, they can take those skills and abilities into any role once they know who they are. And this is what we need to do, is we need to help them find out who they are at a young age. Not that it's sealed and delivered or anything like that, but to begin to celebrate those special little gifts that maybe aren't acknowledged elsewhere in the world, but if they're always helpful with their little brother, or they make lovely cards, or whatever it is, look out for those little skills that you can help them and encourage them to develop, because they're the ones that they're going to need in the future. They need to know who they are inside, so they take them, not skills, but take them to the roles of the future. As you said, like, we're now all digital, there may be something else in the future. So the world's changing in a big way. They need to have this confidence to know that they are acceptable, that they have something unique to give the world, regardless of what those skills are. And nobody can be good at everything. But we don't need to be, because we've all got a unique skill that it balances other people's skills. And once we know what that skill is, we can help others. They won't have that skill, but they can help us in some way, and it creates a much lovelier world. So that's
I 100% absolutely agree. I think that's wonderful. And yes, the world is changing. Systems are changing. They're developing. They're expanding in different ways. There's different types of education that are coming out, like within the internet world, definitely, which is much more focused on that. It's internal well-being, it's internal strength, it's internal resilience, because actually when we've got those inner skills, we can face whatever's going on. And we're no longer in that system where we fit into these little boxes anymore, because things are different. The way we function is different. And there's like 1 in 4. There was a report recently that 1 in 4 women after the pandemic are now saying that they want to come and start online businesses as well, which is absolutely massive to fit in with their family and things like that. So I love everything that you've talked about. It's just been so wonderful to have you here. And I think, there's very likely that if you're willing at some point in the future, would love to have you back, and maybe even to do a reading of the book or something like that, which would be really wonderful.
And there is a reading. I've got a Facebook page called Daphnie and the Smiley Shells, where I put a few suggestions of how people can use the book. So there's a link there to a reading that I've done on another group as well. So
fantastic. Well, let's send people there then, because that's where they can actually get in touch with you. So maybe I think did I put the link up before? Would you be able to put the link up to your group in the comments in the live? And then maybe what I'll do is I will. In fact, why don't you send the link to me, and then I will put it up in the top bit, so it doesn't get lost in the comments, specifically to that group. So there should be a link in here as well for actually purchasing the book. I will update that after the live has finished. I'll go back in and I'll put it right up at the top, so it won't get lost anywhere. So people can access the book, and they can access Vicki's amazing, gorgeous group. So if you wanted to look at how to use the book and things like that, like Vicki's just mentioned there, then there are going to be videos on and talks around how to kind of use that. I think it's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and your thoughts today. It's been gorgeous to see you.
Oh, lovely. And you. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and to everyone who's been listening.
Wonderful. Hopefully we'll have you back.
Okay.
Take care, Vicki. Lots of love.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.